Good morning, everyone. I am so glad to be here, and I wish you were here too. It's going to be a strange experience having a sermon without an audience. But I watched some of the late night shows that they've taken away the audience, and I've found that how they cope with it is, Stephen Colbert said, "Who's going to laugh at my jokes?" And he said, "Oh, I'm going to." And so he laughs at his jokes throughout the show, which is funny. So I think we're having strange times right now. I don't know about you, but I think that this is an exciting time to be alive. The most exciting time in all of history to be alive is right now, because I think the world is awakening. So, for unusual times, strange times, we have to do church differently. We have to use a video camera, and somehow it's going to end up on your computer, which I think is magic in itself. I want to say a few words of how we got here, though, and it's with the coronavirus. Perhaps you have heard it before. You've heard of it? Yes? Oh, good. Okay. So that's how we are here. I wonder how you're coping with it. I wonder if you're in panic and fear about it, or if you are at peace with it. I looked up what was the worst pandemic in U.S. history, and it turns out it was the Spanish flu of 1918. In the Spanish flu, this pandemic infected 500 million people around the world. And it resulted in, they don't have an exact count, but 20 to 50 million deaths. So at least 20 million deaths, including 375,000 Americans. So every morning, I comfort myself by getting up and looking on the website at the people that are keeping track of how many people are infected and how many deaths there are. And I comfort myself because the numbers we're looking at aren't anything close to the Spanish flu. Today, the number was 2,349 cases of people infected in the U.S., with 50 deaths. I did the math, and that is 2.1% of the people who were infected have died. And that means 97.9% have not. And that's not even the whole story, because there are 2,349 cases in the United States of 310 million people. So that is 0.00075% of Americans have become infected. With 50 deaths, that is, out of 310 million people, 0.0000161% of the population. We can have 50 deaths in our country over a weekend just in car accidents. So really the numbers are pretty low. The worldwide statistics are, there are 156,000 cases in the whole world with 5,800 deaths. But that is out of 3 billion people. That's 1/1,000th of 1%. And the good news is that means that 99% of the world's population have not been infected. Let me say it a different way. 156,000 people have been infected with the coronavirus worldwide, which means 2,999,843,984 people have not been infected. Now, I don't know how accurate those statistics are, but if they're close at all, the statistics are definitely on our side, definitely in our favor. This calms me. It gives me a little calmness to know the numbers are so small compared to the 3 billion people in the world. Now, that might change, but I don't think it's time to panic yet. So let yourself tell yourself the truth that the numbers are on our side. So I want to talk to you today about holding on to yourself during this pandemic. Holding on to yourself through the news media and the social media that want to blow you over and scare you. Hold on to yourself. Tell yourself the truth about the numbers. Now, when I was in the hospital last year, when I had brain cancer in my brain, and was going through treatment, one of my friends said to me, just remember, your life belongs to you. And I thought, that's really a profound statement, because the truth is, I had forgotten in the hospital that my life belongs to me. I had 8 bags of fluids going in me, I had IVs, I had 3 ports, I had central lines. It didn't feel like I was in charge at all. I felt kind of disconnected from knowing I'm in charge of my life. It was a surreal experience. So, if you have been disconnected from yourself and your life and your dreams and your hopes and the things you want to accomplish in the world, today is the day, among the strange circumstances, to really change that. If you have been slogging along in an unacceptable situation, today is the day to stop slogging and make a change. Remember my girlfriend Lisa, whose daughter had the liver transplant, said 2020 is the year of miracles. I hope it's also the year of change. Not to mention, I hope we have a change in the White House this year. But I think the coronavirus is also going to help us change. It's going to help us wake up to the shortness of life, the fragileness of life, and to wake us up that slogging along in a situation is just wasting your time. So if you are slogging and the situation hasn't worked for you, isn't going to work for you, then it's time to remember your life belongs to you and you have choice. You and only you can make it better. It's curious to me how human beings can go so long unhappy with the situation before they take action. For example, I had somebody who read my book give me a call, and she wanted me to tell her how to fix her husband. She promised to pay me for her time, which I thought was hilarious, because if I could do that, I had that much power, I'd be charging a whole lot more. Because really, nobody can change another human being. You can only change yourself, and everybody else has to take responsibility for themselves. You can make your life better. And she begged me, please tell me how to fix him, please. I asked her about the relationship, and she said that her fiance was 62 years old, and she'd been dating him for 4 years. I said, oh, well, tell me about him. And these words I wrote down. He's like a child, someone who never grew up, someone who doesn't take responsibility, someone you have to tell what to do and how to do it and when to do it, someone who says hurtful things and doesn't even realize it, someone who doesn't ever take initiative. He is not dependable, he isn't working a stable job, and he can't even pay his bills. I have to pay them for him. He couldn't even afford to buy me a gift for my birthday. And I'm thinking to myself, really? Is this a real question? Clearly, this person did not need to fix him. She needed to look inward and fix herself and ask herself why she is still slogging in a relationship where she has nothing positive to say about her partner, nothing at all. She has so far given 4 of her years of her precious life away. Then she asked me, should she marry him? And again, I was shocked. I was like, what? Really? This never spoken to this woman before in my life, did not know her. And she wanted me to tell her if she should marry a man she had no respect for and no positives to say about him. And I thought to myself, how is it that people come to a complete stranger to ask this important question? Why doesn't she know that she has the best answer for her life? I don't know that. She knows it. And you know it too. You know the best answer for your life. Why don't we look inside of ourselves? I told this woman to write down everything she said to me about her fiancé, what he was like. Then to have her best friend come over and read it to her as it was her best friend's boyfriend. And I said to her, what would you tell your friend? And she said, oh, I would tell her to get out. I would tell her she deserves more. I would tell her that she is wasting her life, spending way too much time trying to get this person to grow up. I would tell her, do not marry this man. He is not your person. Get on with your life. I smiled and I said, wow, you can be a therapist, because I had those exact same thoughts when you were telling me about it from your angle. So, you have the answers. The founder of Taoism, Lao Tzu, said at the center of your being, you have the answer. You know who you are and you know what you want. Trust yourself. Claim the power in your life. You are actually in charge of it. I had another client of mine who told me he was wanting to be married to somebody who was sober. His wife was an alcoholic. He'd been saying that to himself for 23 years. They had raised their beautiful 2 children in this chaotic, alcoholic world. All the while, he's saying, I want to be married to somebody sober. I hated to state the obvious to him, but I said, you know, if you want to be married to someone sober, you have to be unmarried to someone who's not sober. And he was able to finally get a divorce and meet somebody who was sober, and he has a good life now. We have to be brave enough to go in the direction we want to go. There's no substitute for action. We have to move in the direction. Your life belongs to you. It doesn't belong to your spouse, or your parents, or your kids, or your boss, anyone. Your life belongs to you. So today I want you to think about your life. You're the only one with you 24/7. You know yourself better than anyone else on the planet. And to ask yourself, are you happy where you are? Or is there something you would like to have different? Change it. I believe that you're on this planet on purpose, that every single person that's here in the audience and at home, and you're only here for a short time. As one of my clients said, who's a stand-up comedian, claim your real estate, claim your space, and get on living the life that you long for and you were born to live. I think of life on this planet as 2 lifetimes. The first is when we think other people are in charge of things in our life. The second lifetime begins when we realize that isn't true. I am in charge of my life, nobody else. You can take the reins of your life anytime you choose, and may that moment be now. Once you take over the reins, if you haven't already, you have to make some key decisions about who you are and how you want to live your life on this planet. So, this is where you have to ask yourself the questions and not listen to somebody else's point of view. That's what's so wonderful about Unitarian Universalism. We don't have a dogma that has all the answers that you must believe. Instead, we affirm and promote everyone's right for a responsible search for truth and meaning in their life. The reality is, people only make a few key decisions in their lives, very important ones. I'm going to talk to you about 2 of them. The first decision you have to make is, are you going to live by fear, or are you going to live by love? It's up to you. Nobody else. Remember, it's your life and you get to choose. The second question is, are you going to use the golden rule to run your life? I think these two decisions are connected, and really, if you decide to live by the golden rule, then it's another way of saying, I am not going to live in fear. So really, there's just one decision. Are you willing to use the golden rule to rule your life? So I want to talk about the golden rule for a minute. Most of all, if not all of us, were taught it this way: do unto others how you would have them do unto you. Yet there are different versions of this golden rule, and they're in almost every culture around the world and every religion. So I want to say a few of them. In Christianity, from Matthew 7:12, Jesus tells us, whatever you want men to do to you, do also to them. In Islam, no one of you is a believer until he loves for his neighbor what he loves for himself. Buddhism, hurt not others with that which pains you. Hinduism, this is the sum of duty. Do unto others what you would not have them do unto you. Do not do unto others what you would not have them do unto you. Confucianism says, what you do not want done to yourself, do not do to others. Baha'i says, and if thine eyes be turned toward justice, choose for thy neighbor that which you choose for yourself. And the last two are my favorites. One is a proverb from Nigeria. I'm going to take a pointed stick to pinch a baby bird. You should turn it on yourself first and try it and see how much it hurts. Judaism says, what is hateful to you, do not do to your fellow man. This is the entire law. All the rest is commentary. Breathe into that for a moment. This is the entire law. What is hateful to you, do not do to your fellow man. All the rest is commentary. I believe that the golden rule is how we should live our lives. But what does it look like? Well, it looks like at every intersection, you ask yourself, how would I like to be treated in these circumstances? Then you move in that direction. Here's a story by Kevin Rollins. He is the past president of Dell Computer. He was asked about ethics in business. Rollins quoted Solzhenitsyn. Solzhenitsyn said that if the United States only is going to have legal standard of moral excellence, we will have missed the point. Man can do much better. Rollins said, I thought that was a nice comment on the ethics of companies that simply said, well, legally, it's fine. We believe at Dell, you have to aspire to something higher than legal. The question here is what you're doing right? Martin Luther King said, we must never forget that everything that Hitler did in Germany was legal. John Maxwell is the author of Ethics 101, and he says ethics and integrity are never a business issue or a social issue or a political issue or a legal issue. It is always a personal issue that you have to figure out as you take charge of your life, how you're going to be on the planet. Your life belongs to you. Are you going to be the person that at every crossroads asks themselves, how would I like to be treated, and act that way? Or are you going to be a person that just talks the talk and doesn't walk the walk? Talking the talk's easy. Walking the walk is where there's the rub. You have to work hard for it. Many people claim personal integrity, and they are outraged if they don't receive it from other people. But they will keep the extra $5 in change that was given to them by mistake. I had a client one time, I might have told you about him, this is a true story, who was waiting for his income tax refund to show up in the mail. When he got it, he was so excited, he was expecting $200. And instead, he got a check for $1 million. His name, $1 million. He knew that it was a mistake. He knew that this money was not his, but he decided to keep it. He put it in his bank account so it could draw interest. After about a year, the IRS caught up with their mistake, and they hunted him down, and they wanted their money back and their interest. He was outraged. He felt he had been wronged. And I was like, really? I told him to reverse the situation. Let's say the IRS took out $1 million from your investment account by accident. How would he want to be treated? Would he want them to hold on to the money for a year and say nothing and get all the interest? Probably not. So there are two parts to incorporating the golden rule into your life. The first one is being able to discern right from wrong and choosing what is right, not what is easy, not what is popular, but what is right. If you get a check for $1 million that you aren't owed, what's the right thing to do? We can figure this out by asking ourselves, how would I like to be treated? We do this by taking the long pointed stick and trying it on ourselves to see the hurt first. The second part of the golden rule is to actually do what's right. Martin Luther King Jr. said, the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. It's the same with ethics and our moral compass. We must be willing to stand for what is right, even when it's not popular, even when it means losing our job, even when it means people being upset with us and ostracizing us for rocking the boat, for being the whistleblower on the President of the United States. That person I salute. I don't know. I'm glad that identity is still protected. But it means standing up and doing the right thing even when it's hard. I think it matters every time we choose right. Martin Luther King said, the time is always right to do the right thing. The time is always right to do the right thing. I personally have a sense of urgency about this, an urgency to attend to other people's fear with love, an urgency to write about it, talk about it, shout it on the mountaintop, so much so to change and become a healing force in the world. Martin Luther King again, he said, we may have all come on different ships, but we're all in the same boat now. And as of today, the coronavirus is with us in that boat. We must comfort those who are afraid. We must reach out and help them. I urge you to really claim your life and your value in the world and how much you can be a healing force. Choose love over fear. Choose to treat others as you would wish to be treated. And remember to poke yourself with that pointy stick to see how it hurts before you do it to somebody else. Blessed be, and amen. The end. Okay. P.S. I decided to add an addendum to what I'm saying because one of the three people in the audience today was a fact checker and corrected me that there aren't 3 billion people in the world. There are 7 billion people in the world. So there are 156,000 cases in the whole world out of 7 billion people. And that means there are 6,999,843,984 people who have not been infected. The stats are still on our side.